Okay, my Straight Talk family, it is long past that time when I should have said good night, St. Kitts and Nevis. I should have already said good night to the entire Caribbean region, and I should have already said good night to the world, because the Kittitian and Nevian diaspora are all over the world. And I can say good night as well. I can say good morning, and I will say good afternoon. And to all of you, I do extend my apologies for what is seemingly a tardy start. And yes, it is. It is a tardy start tonight, and I must apologize for that tardy start. Again, a very pleasant night wherever you are in the world, because we are on the World Wide Web, on YouTube and on Facebook, respectfully. And I say good night, in particular to our first timers. And I always have first timers, and it's only fair to inform you that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, we do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's, in the process, try to get St. Kitts back to that enviable position, I call it, of being one of the freest countries, if not the freest country in the entire world, or in the Western Hemisphere at least. And on this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with another opportunity to join you in conversation, my Straight Talk family, on yet another occasion. And in the process, I want to say tonight that, and remind you, I should say first of all, that Straight Talk is a participative program. And by that I mean we entertain your calls, we entertain your emails. And if you're so minded to call, the numbers are 663, they're on your screen, 6672 and or 646-829-6672. You can see them on your screen. And our email platform, our address is straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. And I want to hail the young members of my brigade, in particular Tristan, Sham, and Kevin over there in Nevis. And trust you are up and about and preparing for school and going to the CSS this coming September. Our observations and review tonight are few, but it's a time when we highlight the issues of the day. And in the process, we do some reflection. We may then ask a few questions, such as what was accomplished, how has it helped others, what has changed since, and what can be expected next. Also, what new we have learned as a people. But we are experiencing some difficult times here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And law and order seem to have broken down, irrespective of what our leader or leaders may say. And just before coming on air, I learned of another shooting Another shooting I learned of in the Shadwell area, and Model Cop filed this via his Facebook page, my Straight Talk family.
Greetings, we are here in Shadwell, where MCN has received information that there is a shooting. We are on the scene right now, and as you can see in the distance there, someone is on the ground, actually, appears to me. We are on the scene being shot. The police is here, not very much police activity right now, but someone is on the ground. As you can see, persons are pointing out certain things to the police. So there has been a shooting. It appears as though one individual has been shot, and I'm waiting on the EMS to arrive as the officers who are here presently carry out their investigation.
Well, we can confirm that one individual was shot in the Shadwell area. The EMS transported that individual to the JNF hospital, and thank God we understand, even up to this moment, that individual was shot some part of the body in the leg area, or in the leg, we are told. Our second observation, my Straight Dog family, relates to life, water. Water is life. And we've been hearing quite a lot of things about the extraction of water in the Keon area, to be exact. And I am still of the view that the company Bede that's being contracted to do the work for about 15 or more years in the Federation continued on their mission. Their mission, what I call the extraction of money and not the extraction of water. We are still going to confirm that Bede has since asked or demanded more money since, quote unquote, the politicians, mark you, not the hydrologists or not the utility, but the politicians, and some plain politicians, some with loud mouths, have said that Bede has found water. But we understand that Bede has most recently demanded more money to drill a second well. Well, that could mean a lot of things if that is accurate. But we are following that story, and I can also promise you that in a subsequent program, we're going to do an episode, we're going to do a program totally dedicated to water in St. Kitts. And perhaps you can prepare yourselves, God's willing, for the next program, which hopefully will be on Monday, God spare. But those are my observations in review for tonight, and as we have lost some time, I will hasten to move right into my thesis, which I have titled, Whatsoever a Man soweth, that he shall also reap. And my Straight Talk family, I know that there are many biblical scholars within the Straight Talk family. So I would be very careful how I broach, or rather how I embark upon our discussion on this very difficult topic tonight. I call it difficult. I will be cautious because my dissertation deals with what some scholars, beg your pardon, referred to as the law of retribution, which is prominent in many scriptures we can find in our Bibles. But would you believe it? As I got out of bed this morning, thank God, and rolled off onto my knees, that's something I normally do. as part of my daily ritual. And I thank God for taking me through the night. And I thank God for the present morning light. I then open my Moravian daily text that I read every morning. And the passage of scripture popped up before my eyes. Proverbs 31, verse 8. It read, and I quote, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute." And if one is destitute, it suggests that he or she is extremely poor and lacks the means, or is lacking the means to provide for him or herself. I found Proverbs, and I went Proverbs 31, as I said, and I went on to verse 9, which says, "Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy." And I believe those were my instructions for tonight's episode, hence the title of my thesis. Because my research tells me that this lesson was forcefully impressed upon the minds of the Hebrews when the Hebrew writer stated, "For if the word spoken through angels prove steadfast, and every transgression and disobedience received a just recompense of reward, how shall we escape if we neglect so great a salvation?" And that comes from Hebrews. And this same law is simply declared by Paul in Galatians 6, verse 7. And it reads, "Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." Sin pays wages, and as long as sin is served, those wages will be paid in full. What are they? Eternal death. Yes, read Romans, "For the wages of sin is death." But I did not come here tonight, my Straight Dog family, to pretend that I am some pastor or some pagan of virtue like some people in authority. Far from that. But I have seen enough of this Jew administration to conclude that their actions are responsible to a great degree for the reckless, careless, indifferent attitudes that are so prevalent in our society today. Everybody has come under the influence of what I call the new morality movement, a philosophy that runs counterclockwise to self-restraint, self-control, or self-discipline. It's like you do as you please because your government is in office, your government in power. Whatever your little heart desires to do, attitude is the reaping the inevitable results of what has been sown very early in the Jews' administration's term in office. For it is written in the good book of Galatians 6, verse 8, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap," I said. "For he who sows to his flesh will of the flesh reap corruption, but he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life." My Straight Dog family, from the moment Dr. Jew got into office, he continued his "get rid of them" mantra he introduced on his campaign trail. He started getting rid of highly competent and qualified civil servants who were deemed supporters of PLP and or PAM. And not just civil servants, but public servants as well. Imagine, He then went and took an assistant secretary from the back room of some ministry and catapulted her to be head of the civil service. Did you hear me? He took an assistant secretary from the back room of some ministry and catapulted that assistant secretary to be head of the civil service. So what Dr. Drew literally did, he jumped her 7 or 8 scales to K47 in line with the financial secretary. She then took, not requested, she took the allowance or allowances that were given to the financial secretary for years for professional reasons, and that found favor with Dr. Joe, my straight dog family. And this lady jumped, like I said. Her salary moved in the process, as you can see, from $76,000 per annum to over $117,000 per annum. What has she brought to the position, you may ask? Absolutely nothing. I dare say, my straight dog family, absolutely nothing. But you see where she came or has gone to? She is head of the civil service. In order of protocol, she's even ahead of the cabinet secretary and ahead of the financial secretary. So she demanded the allowances that the financial secretary has earned over the years, her professional allowances. And she got it. She then, my straight dog family, with the approval, my straight dog family, she then, with the approval of Dr. Drew, who is minister, of course, responsible or with responsibility for human resources, he then approved the promotion of her lover boy to the position of CEO of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority. Yes. He then approved her lover boy to the position of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority. This is what he said, my straight dog family.
And you'll have areas, designated areas, where you can go and smoke if you wish to smoke. People use the cannabis in different ways. Right. If one of the ways in which you use it is to smoke, then you'll have a designated area. You'll have designated areas. And so we are already looking at designated areas where people can go and do that. The Cannabis Commission is there. It is headed by Dr. Garfield Alexander at this time. And that commission is already looking at all of this. So the commission will meet with the AG, right? And all the law enforcement, all those, the stakeholders, of course, as this legislative agenda is to be developed. So it's very critical between that commission and the legislature, which we think would be fundamental in making sure that that agenda is achieved.
Well, my straight dog family, Dr. Drew, as usual, misspoke, because Dr. Garfield Alexander is not head of the Cannabis Commission, as the chair of that commission is Ernest Amory, if he has not been replaced. But Dr. Alexander is in fact the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority. And his terms of reference are quite clear. Subject to the provisions of the Act, the Medicinal Authority Act, subsection 1 of section 24, deals with the provision or the appointment, rather, of Chief Executive Officer, Alexander, which reads, subject to the provisions of this section, there shall be a Chief Executive Officer of the authority who shall be appointed by the board. subject to the approval of the cabinet, my straight dog family. But contrary to his terms of reference, and as Dr. Joe intimated, Alexander's focus seemed to be on the legalization of cannabis and the promotion of designated areas for smoking. Yes, he seemed to be, like I said, focusing on legalizing marijuana, legalizing the cannabis, as we see, and the promotion of designated areas. And that's not what's in his terms of reference. But you see there? Legalize marijuana, CEO. That's what he's saying to us. I tell you, my street dog family. But we ask the question, is Dr. Alexander and Dr. Drew both on a different frequency to the Minister of Agriculture, who strongly believes, as he intimated some time ago, that we are dragging at a snail's pace, to use his words, in getting involved in this multi-billion-dollar marijuana industry, when we can be literally growing money on trees. That's what Minister Samal said, my straight dog family.
Marijuana industry, as we have heard, is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And we have been dragging at a snail's pace in getting involved. And I could not understand for the life of me why. Literally growing money on trees. But yet somehow, we don't want to participate. But I dare say, that era is over. And it's now a new day. And a better way. So in 2023, expect a vibrant, thriving marijuana industry. Literally growing money on trees.
Well, surely Minister Samal will have to get his Prime Minister and the CEO of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority, that should be, to get on board so you can literally grow money on trees. But I came across a Facebook page by former Permanent Secretary Sharon Rattan, who adequately summed up her feelings about a month ago on her Facebook page. And what was in that Facebook post is very instructive, my straight dog family. Read it for yourselves. You can read it for yourselves. Sharon Rattan is feeling disappointment. And she goes on to state that there are a new set of government employees who are on a path to create a political gang in the civil service. Opportunities to learn and grow are of no value to them. Don't we have enough lessons? She asks. When will we learn? Was her other question. And so disappointed, she exclaimed in her conclusion. My straight dog family, the law of sowing and reaping is one of the most basic, easily understood laws. But Dr. Joe has quickly become the father of lies, and he has taken it and twisted it and deceived thousands of poor people in this country. Do not expect anything different from his deputy, Jeffrey Hanley, as we can never forget his management. We can never forget his management, my straight dog family, of the People's empowerment program, or rather his mismanagement, for that matter, of that program, my Straight Dog Family. Because his then boss referred to it as the infamous People's Empowerment Program. This is what Dr. Douglas said.
Jeffrey has been the manager of that infamous People's Employment Program.
He referred to it, my Straight Dog Family, for reasons unknown, as the People's Employment Program, infamous People's Employment Program. But for reasons unknown, though, the irregularity at PEP were never made public, and it always baffled me. And I said this to the former Prime Minister on more than one occasion.
Just to say, yes,
baffled me.
There is information that has been made available that there has been irregularity with respect to the PEP program. I am not at liberty now to talk quantum or persons. Safe to say that we are doing the necessary follow-through on some of the information. We have had persons come forward and said that items intended for PEP went into event planning and other activities. So we are looking at those, but it is still too soon. I am also aware that very early in the life of PEP, the Accountant General Office did in fact had cause, based on certain outcry, to conduct an internal audit on the management of PEP. And that report is being reviewed also, and at the appropriate time, more information can be made available regarding the functioning of PEP.
But over $2 million, my Straight Dog Family, went into the then PEP manager Nevis' account in Florida, and that can still be confirmed even at this time. That manager is now the minister responsible for the upgraded PEP STEP, and for PAP, the People's PAP, the Poverty Alleviation Program, I should say. That minister has managed the disruption of the lives of thousands of poor people that once received $500 each month. That meant so much to so many of these poor people in our midst. Could you imagine this stupid explanation about IMF recommendation to streamline the PAP program advanced by Senator Phillip? And you have a permanent secretary, my Straight Dog Family, who seem to gloat with pride that thousands of poor people are excluded from this needed social assistance. My Straight Dog Family, thousands of people have been excluded.
We paid on the 30th of June, I'll get that number for you, 5,361 households are receiving PAP at this time. Remember, when we closed applications in December, 11,639 applied. Of that number, 8,985 were eligible. All right? And so that now, if you take 5,361 from that number, it's over 60% of the applications are being paid. I know for some persons being in the 40%, to them it's unfair.
And she sounds like she's gloating. But if over 8,900 persons have qualified, how the hell you are only paying 5,000 of them? Does it make sense to you, my Straight Dog Family? If you're poor, you're poor. If you are below the threshold, you are below the threshold of $3,000. But meanwhile, it means nothing to them. And people are hurting, and it's not easy.
It is not EASY. It is not easy. And do not be fooled. Do not let no nice show and no nice thing fool you. The $500 from the PAP, it is so helpful. I wish I could triple it up. It's so helpful. It come in so handy.
But my Straight Dog Family, The truth is, you reap what you sow. And that's a proverb that says future consequences are inevitably shaped by present actions. If you just for a moment think like a farmer, you would say that to reap is to gather a crop, and to sow is to plant the seeds. Throughout versions of the Bible, sowing is used as a metaphor for one's actions. It's a simple story used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson. And reaping is used for the results of those actions. We reap what we sow. It seems so obvious. But in these recent times of violence and armed robberies across St. Kitts and Nevis, this simple truth seemed to have escaped most Kittitians, or many Kittitians and Nevisians. It must be reasonable to ask ourselves why. Because we all must have noticed that the Federation has in so many ways become a more violent society. Many of our leaders must be wringing their hands regarding the dangerous uptick in social violence of all sorts in our Federation. And my pastor, Anita Samuel Warner, addressed it very well on Sunday. I was touched. And social violence of all sorts, including increasing gun crimes, homicides, and armed robberies. As just on Saturday, many witnessed what seemed to be a well-organized hit on the Rams supermarkets with the brand name Rams. These developments come on the heels of a purported crime-fighting method, which, according to the Minister of National Security, my Straight Dog family, according to the Minister of National Security, have been upgraded. Do you believe that, my Straight Dog family? He said this.
Today, I want to deal frontally with the issue of national security. I also wish to specifically address the issue of violent crimes, particularly those involving firearms. And of course, we know we had an unsustainable crime fighting method which has to be upgraded. Your government, along with the security forces, are working assiduously to bring what we consider to be real calm to you, the citizens, as we strive to eradicate this scourge from our society.
My Straight Dog family, you hear that talk, but the fact is, the Jew administration has technically dismantled the peace program. But ironically, Prime Minister Mia Mottley in Barbados has recently pumped $2.5 million on its own national peace program, which is announced most recently.
For the first time, we are having direct interventions where the Prime Minister would have provided $2.5 million for family-based interventions, whether it be parental programs or life coaching programs for our adolescents that may have gone astray. So a serious effort has been made to change Barbados, starting with the National Peace Program.
Change Barbados, starting with the National Peace Program. As a matter of fact, Friday last, on the 12th of August in Barbados, 100 of the island's most at-risk youth were enrolled in that government's peace program, my Straight Dog family. These are the facts.
When we look at crime prevention, when we look at at-risk youth, a lot of the times what we do, lock them up. That's the solution? No, we got to prevent it. So we are going to them now, and we are looking to give them these 180 programs where we can encourage them and give them the opportunity to turn their life around.
So my Straight Dog family, in Barbados, they have seen it differently to what we are doing here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And 100 enrolled in the government peace program. While we are here, on the other hand, we have partly dismantled the program as the Minister of National Security. He has promised, my Stray Dog family, he has promised to launch something called Elevate in July. July has passed and gone. This deadline, like so many other deadlines, have come and gone. But the crime continues to escalate. 19 homicides in the first 7 months of 2023 with or under this Jew administration, and a continuing increase in armed robberies. Does Dr. Jew really believe that this is the way to build a more secure and safe St. Kitts and Nevis? Our government has a real problem of excessive secrecy. You cannot have a real democracy when the operation of the government is hidden from the people. Secrecy kills public accountability and cripples the government's system of checks and balances, both essential elements of our constitutional democracy. But upon assuming office, my Stray Dog family, rather than attempting to enhance the program, my Stray Dog family, Prime Minister Jew puts it to a cessation. He stops it. And in the process, he vilified those who helped to fix the problem of crime within the Federation with disparaging remarks about peace program enhancement, about $20 million missing, all sorts of things, he said. Instead of consulting with the people whose responsibility it was to deal with crime and violence, like the National Security Advisor, Major General Saunders, for example. He snapped him, and Saunders could have given him a crash course on the current disposition of the program. Major General Saunders could have assisted the Prime Minister to remove his serious and cockeyed political views of the peace initiative, as it was called. I am certain that the Major General Saunders, whom I met, whom I knew and I interviewed, would have given Dr. Jew the genesis of the program. He would have told him the true stories about the creation of the peace initiative and the strategy employed way back in 2019, my Stray Dog family.
The strategy involved started on the 13th of March 2019, and it's commonly referred to, as you know, as the peace initiative. We started first of all with approximately 70 persons involved, and that quickly blossomed over time to some 800 persons today. We offer quite a number of opportunities for the at-risk group. Project development, business opportunities, they can access loans. A lot of them are into apprenticeships at this particular moment in time. They are the normal work routines, learning trades, and for obviously educational opportunities and the like. Persons who have been on for some time and who have accessed these opportunities have now started to move off the program to take up or to spend more time in the actual business venture that they have adopted. And that is always a good sign, as it makes way for anybody else who might be interested in coming onto the program or who merits coming onto that particular program.
And Prime Minister Jew would have also learned from the National Security Advisor about these plans, my Straight Dog family. He could have learned about the plans, my Straight Dog family.
Looking forward or looking down the line, there's one particular aspect that we are at the moment trying to address. And it is a life skills training and exposure program. What we need to do is to ensure that we can equip these individuals to work properly within the workforce, understanding all the social skills that are necessary in order to make them more valuable citizens and to understand what obtains on a job, a normal job in society today. So in a nutshell, that's where we are right now, and we're looking forward to the continued support of the public in particular in ensuring that we can bring these persons, these members of the at-risk group, back into the normal fold of society.
And my Straight Talk family, this is exactly what is being done presently in Barbados. They have looked at our program and used it as their template. It is therefore important to keep these at-risk youths inside the fold of normal society. And right-thinking citizens are now pointing to what they consider the politicizing of everything in St. Kitts and Nevis. The Jew Labour administration politicizes everything one can think about, including crime. And crime affects all of us. And we all must be able to advise, be part of the solutions, own them. Hence the reason everyone believes. Because of this politicization, the sudden spike in homicides resulted. The debate over the funding of the peace initiative and the propaganda that came with it only took the country back to those dark days of crime and violence under the last Labour administration. The current spate of homicides or murders make us jog our memories way back to the frightening days of Douglas. Would this Jew Labour government mean 35 or 36 murders once again? Many ask. God forbid, I say. Would this Labour government mean more robberies, break-ins, larcenies, and more sexual assaults or rapes this year and beyond? Would this new Labour government mean greater possession of firearms and ammunition around the Federation? What happened, my Straight Talk family, on the weekend, as reported by the national television station ZIZ, is also frightening when we heard this report.
Grocery establishment Rams Supermarket was robbed twice at 2 branches on Saturday night. According to police, Rams Supermarket at Camps was robbed at 6:30 p.m. by, quote, 4 armed and masked assailants wearing hoodies. The assailants robbed 4 of the cashier's stations and the vault of a large sum of money before fleeing the scene in a waiting car. Then at around 7:55 p.m., their Bird Rock location was also robbed by 4 armed and masked assailants dressed in all black. The assailants also stole a large sum of cash from the cashiers and the vault before making their getaway in a waiting car. A few weeks ago, Rams Cash and Carry in Bird Rock was also the target of a robbery that took place on June 21st.
And my Straight Talk family, this comes on the heels of the political interference in the police force. Because Drew, as Minister of National Security, manufactured his new Commissioner of Police, who jumped ranks from confirmed inspector to Commissioner of Police, and kudos to him. It was done in a fleeted elevation to acting superintendent, bypassing the ranks of assistant commissioner and deputy commissioner, past all his superiors, and went to the top. And my Straight Dog family, perhaps one may say that politics should not be part, or there should be no political interference in the police force. But I always pondered, because the Police Act Cap 19.07, as it deals with appointments and enlistments at section 11, beg your pardon, subsection 1. It says the Chief of Police, Deputy Chief of Police, and Assistant Commissioner of Police shall be appointed by the Governor General, acting in accordance with the recommendation of the Commission. But there is an exception. And it says, except that the Commission shall not make any recommendation relating to the appointment of the Chief of Police and Deputy Chief of Police before it has consulted the Prime Minister. And hear this. Subsection 2. If the Prime Minister signifies his objection to the appointment of any person to hold the office of Chief of Police and Deputy Chief of Police, the Commission shall not recommend to the Governor General to appoint that person. So the law ratifies political interference in the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis police force. What if he does not agree? Then he appoints his own. Instructs the commission. That's the Police Service Commission, no doubt. But my Stray Dog family, that having been done, the Commissioner of Police has now recommended that a certain Inspector of Police close to Dr. Jew be hoisted past the rank of Superintendent to Assistant Commissioner of Police without, one, attaining the required 60% marks from his appraisal, and two, 60% marks during his interview. The magic 60% has eluded this officer, whose name I will provide next time around, and whose rapid promotion started under the sheriff, C.G. Walwyn. Then he went to Taiwan on a course. I think he was then a corporal or sergeant. But Dr. Jew is hell-bent on manufacturing the high command of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis police force. He's in so much trouble because he's pushing all the quote-unquote PAM, PLP, believer supported officers, he says. And he has now have to go back to retired police officers. They have been brought back part-time, we understand, and offered $2,000 per month. Some have bluntly refused that. But my Stray Dog family, I think it's not about balance. It is about the undermining of institutions of the state, like the police force, not the institutions, so that there can be a more rapacious, a more aggressively greedy, a more rapacious grabbing of resources. And that's why, you see, my Stray Dog family, the disgraced Attorney General, as he says, wants 85% increase in his salary. Because this, he said, would avoid corruption.
In order to discourage ministers being corrupt, they should be paid well. Yes, you're doing a public service. However, you should be able to take care of your family. But it should also be reasonable so that you can satisfy your obligations. And when the person comes with the potential bribe, you can tell them, no, I don't want that.
So is he saying his cabinet colleagues are corrupt? So he needs to increase their salary by 85%. My straight talk family, I said before, the Jew Labour Party promised everything in opposition, but in government, they have delivered nothing. Look at the poverty situation in the country. The Jew Labour administration has not announced to date any clear objectives to reduce poverty amongst families, amongst single mothers, poverty amongst fathers with children, also amongst our pensioners, who are a forgotten segment of our population, of our demographic. What is Dr. Jew doing to lower the cost of food in the country? What is Dr. Jew doing to lower the cost of gas? Bus drivers are crying out. What is Dr. Jew doing to lower the cost of electricity when it stubbornly refused to move a renewable energy project forward because it was conceived under the Team Unity administration? I say, my straight dog family, our nation is in a state of moral decay. Violence, cheating, robberies, lying are the results of what has been sown in the minds of the people, especially the young and innocent. The Jew Labour administration has not accorded these objectives any priority. Pensioner poverty is on the increase in our country, in lockstep with inflation and the cost of living increase. Meanwhile, is the rising level of inequality within the bottom half of the income distribution, as the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, as they are promised everything from affordable housing to more disposable income, a recharge economy, and a $500 minimum wage. Those are only promises that have not been kept. So what are your reflections for the future? The fiscal climate is now different under Labour, unlike under the Team Unity administration. But my reflections go back to August the 5th, 2022, and what happened the following day. And all I can say tonight, my straight talk family, is whatever a man soweth, that he shall also reap. That's my story tonight, my straight dog family, and I am not going to change it. It's 8 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour, and I will open the lines. I will now entertain your calls and your emails. And if you're so minded to call, like I said, the numbers are on the screen, but I can guide you. They are 663, my straight dog family, 6672. Again, 663-6672 and or 646. My straight dog family, 646-829-6672. The email address for those who like what I call the cloak of anonymity is straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. I'll open the lines and I'll go to the lines in a few seconds. I always like to implore you to respect others, and of course to achieve that you must first respect yourself. Let us try to be fair to all concerned, and let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us in the process try to ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of doing and saying those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. At 9 past 9 o'clock, I go to the lines. Caller, you are live.
Hot up, my beloved brother?
What's up, my brother?
Greetings. Put up in the name of our great African ancestors, especially Queen Nzinga and King Garvey. Brother, what's up? All is well? I know all is not well, but I'm just asking.
I am peaceful in spite of everything else, my straight dog family. What about yourself and your family?
Well, I'm good, man. I'm good, brother. The clan is good. We just got to keep on fighting and keep our eyes on what's going on the African continent in Niger and get the French out of there and all the others, man, who are just milking Africa for centuries. But talking that another time. Now, my beloved brother, when the mulatto boy gonna say about 85% increase. But is this guy on some kind of crack? He just crazy? He have no conscience, which he don't have no conscience whatsoever. What about advocating for minimum of $13? Minimum wage, $13. For those at the bottom of the economic ladder. $13. That's what he should supposed to be. They don't, like I keep saying, these people have no love for African people, my beloved brother. And that evil cabal, misled by that boy from Monkey Hill, he again, he should be a damn shame of himself. Because it's the same in the nation of Islam at one time. Used to sell their newspaper and masquerading, going all over there, talking about this and reparations. Give me a break. These guys are nothing but betrayers of the African race, and in the African race, they have no love for African people. And I blame those people who voted for them who look at me and you border patches, African people. And I got a lot of betrayers inside here, Negroes too. African don't mean more. You got to be African. It doesn't just mean that you have the final appearance of an African. It's also the mentality and the philosophy that make you a complete African, not just color and final appearance. No, got to be the philosophy, mentality. This should be a shame. What the people in the Liam Megan what he's doing, all these foolishness. Come on, what they got you on under some spell, mind control, or they got some button to push you when they want you to push another button when they want you to stop. Come on, people, you got to stand up for your rights, for you, your children, grandchildren, and those that are born. Stand up, man. Stand up like true African and warriors. Our ancestors, African ancestors, are shame of those, beloved brother, those who are behaving like that, man. Like nobody fought for them to make them what they are today. People die to make you what you are today. You didn't liberate yourself. Our ancestors did that. But what are you doing today? Look at it, man. Everything is eroding those things that our ancestors fought for centuries ago and make us free people. They are just eroding slowly but surely. That cannot happen, man. Cannot happen. My young sisters and young brothers, stand up for what is right and do what is right. Brother, thanks again for hearing me. Keep up the great work. Pan-Africanism our purpose. Well done, my beloved.
One love, my brother. Always good to hear you. Always welcome your interventions. And yes, we ought to stand up. And I'll add to that, we ought to also speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are poor and lacking the means to provide. Let's go back to the lines. I want to thank this caller for holding. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Mr. Tade, good night.
Good night, my dear brother. Sounds like the Bible.
And how are you, sir?
I am peaceful. What about yourself?
I'm wonderful. I am giving God thanks and praise. Mr. Patrick, good night. I want to say, Psalms 107, so give thanks unto the Lord for his good.
His mercies.
For his mercy endureth forever. It said, let the redeemer of the Lord say so. We had redeemed from the hands of the enemy.
Yep.
Mr. Patrick, tonight we have to give God thanks and praise for what he has done for us. And I'm saying tonight, Lamentation chapter 3, it is the Lord's mercy that we are not consumed, because his compassion faileth not. They are new every morning. Every morning you wake up, and I want to say this tonight, Mr. Patel. It's a mystery when we go down to sleep at night time, and when we wake in the morning, it's a mystery. Mr. Patel, one more thing I am going to say, and that keeping me alive. Isaiah 54:17. No weapon that form against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against thee in judgment shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servant of the Lord, and the righteousness of me, said Mr. Paget, have a pleasant night, and see you by the grace of God next Monday. If the Lord tarry and the world lasts, you will hear my mouth while God saved my life. Thank you.
Thank you as well, my dear brother. And trust that we will connect, like you said, on Monday. Let's go back to the lines. I want to thank this caller for holding a caller you alive.
Good night, Brother Patches.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
to
sir.
the listeners who are listening straight talk, whether you are in St. Kitts or you're east, west, north, or south. Okay. Thank you for having me once again. I observe that St. Kitts people are not themselves. They are not leaders, they are followers. And the topic tonight, whatever a man sow it, so you reap it. I don't care whether it's the prime minister or the individual person. But I can tell you, St. Kitts people definitely don't know what they need because they do not observe things before they make a choice. Yes, they took the chance. Give the new administration a chance. Nothing wrong with that. Yes, the administration made promises. And there is a saying, promises are comfort for fools.
Yes.
I believe that the promises really made, but they are not being delivered because St. Kitts people is under hardship. But some of them believe that the country is going good. And everyone voted with the intention of some people are benefiting from the new government, the new Labour administration. And they will continue to say the country is going good. What happened to the majority? How much people has changed their mind now from what they are facing? No, I'm gonna lash at selected leaders who are appointed to run government service and deliver service. A lot of them feel like they become judge, jury, and executioner. So the services are not rendered in the way it should, especially the social service. Okay? And what is a duty to someone to serve in the government, to render services to the people should that difficulty were to come up? They are not doing it because they fight against each other, crabs in a barrel. So apart from the Prime Minister really don't deserve so much beating up. But the representatives and the advisors, you mean to tell me people are crying? I witnessed people spoke to me how the country is going. They said the country is not going good. Life is hard. Yeah, Sengi's life is hard. I faced it. If I may deviate a little from the situation, I came to Senkit January 11. I made sure I was well sustained financially and food-wise. I came here to do a business for my own. I never get nothing done because I encountered a problem and government should have helped me. Knowing that there were witnesses at port and custom. That is, the government never looked at me to find out how I live, how I am going to survive. Okay? And a situation that was witnessed. I am forced to leave St. Kitts after 6 months. I am a resident of the United States, and I did not apply for citizenship because I have due duty to the country. And for those reasons, that's why I was convinced and convicted to join and participate in the next election. Because government officials, they get a job to do and they are not doing it. They send me I left St. Kitts penniless when I came, financially sustained. And they witnessed what happened to me. And they put me through the hell to go back to the United States to gather receipts for my own personal thing that they witnessed. And I've lost, and not a damn penny. Not a penny. But to all those who feel like they're going to make decisions over my thing that I brought into St. Kitts with my expense, they have it coming for them. Okay? So, apart from the Prime Minister who get a lot of beat up, you got to check him. Okay. They are not representing him. Thank you for the time. It's a long time, but I will come back with another piece.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your intervention. Let's go back to the lines. I want to thank this caller for holding. Caller, are you still there? Hello, caller?
Good night. Yeah. Good night. How are you?
A pleasant night to you. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland. How are you? I am peaceful.
You can hear me because rain coming my way.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, my dear. The whole world is hearing you as well.
No, okay. Thank God for my spare life. I have to do that. How was your weekend? I see you was rhyming hard. You still have to love them. Timothy and his brother treat them so good and let people come to put them against him and tell them vote for Drew. But once a labor, always a labor, and grateful. But he too better know them. 1 year, not even a high fire on the road for doing nothing. I hear the village big and bad was giving out food to show how they got them. Take the money, do something good for them. They could go hotel and knock glass, not them, and laugh at them. The 1 year church service. Why Jew go on a church pulpit to tell lie and know they did not do nothing for the year, not even what to finish. Think it's like a ghost town right now. Maybe they mean the joy ride they do every week and bring back nothing. All the same smart who smart home, smart hospital, and smart school. All it needs repair properly, and even that a land was there and ready to do it. Nothing to do is nothing new. Everything was in place. Smart school, everything smart because they think they're smart. And if parents follow them to treat their children like that, they must like them. They know the school had a mole, break it down, and did not say nothing. Keep it a secret, but nothing in St. Kitts can hide the cheat they do to get their way in. Don't know nothing about government. That's why nothing can do yet. They know they could not be. Timothy was the best all over the world. So they talk about the 1500 to catch them. Where it is, no balling, no ideas. I'll be back if I get back in.
Thank you very much, Alice in Wonderland. Thank you all times for your contributions to Straight Talk. I got a nice hug from you on the weekend, and I can feel it until now. As I said I feel it for that hug from Alice in Wonderland. It's 26 past the 9 o'clock hour. Let's go straight back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Yes. Good evening, Dr. Ian Patrick Liburd. This is the radical culture here.
Good evening, my dear brother. This is your humble servant, Patches.
Okay, thank you, man. I'm glad you're humble. I'm humble too. Patches, let me tell you, Straight Talk ardent listeners who voice me up regular. Let me just hail them, tell them good night. Good night, VG. Good night, SO. Good night, CR. Good night, PS. And good night, Sha. All those are people who listen to Straight Talk. They don't miss it. Now, let me start first. Nabu, thank you. And brother, welcome. Alice, thank you. Let me go here now with the issues of this country. Now, you hear what that boy who call himself, whatever he call himself, he don't have no passion, no conscience, no love for people. Like Nigel Carty said, all I see so now think these are the days when only a certain color could have power. And he still believe that in his head. So hear what he gonna say. That the members of parliament, government, they deserve the 85% to keep them from being corrupt. Well, let me tell you this. There is a little poor boy from the village called Chico. And Chico started a fan club. And that club does voluntary service to feed poor, hungry people in St. Kitts. People who are starving because they're not getting the assistance, what they were getting from the government, the $500 was true. Lying to take it away from the people them. So Chico now, with his fan club, they are doing voluntary service, feeding the people them. They ain't looking for no money. Now, why should they get 85% to prevent them from being corrupt? Chico them ain't getting the pay, and they are not corrupt. They're using donation from people, the poor. So why he must talk about that? That is to show you what he got in his mind. If he ain't get that, he liable to be corrupt. That is why you see it's like somebody come in country's policies, you know. Because I like the way they behave with certain things. You hear those amount of $1 million, what that man who called himself Pastor, Dr. Pastor, what he was involved in? We're going to Florida. I want to know what going to become of that. I like that situation that should have been dealt with a long time. But you see what happened? A lot of politicians like to talk about things and then they just leave it like that. No wonder he going on, so he and all of them going on with the stupidness in this country and doing what they want to do, taking up Tom, Dick and Harry and skipping them over 1, 2, 3, 4 persons and give them big position. For what? Because of who they sacrifice to them, they give them kind of job. Eh? Think about who they sacrifice to get their position. Police, you all see what this government doing to you all, you know. Police, you all stand up. Don't sit down no more. This is the time for all you get on the road. The longer you all sit down and lay back, it's more nonsense and wrong thing the boy Joe. And that rusty man gonna continue to do to the country. It's time to get up, man. Get up. Nabu, thank you and welcome. And Alice, that is, I'll come back if I get time.
Thank you very much for your intervention. This email reads, I'll just pose some of the emails before they build up too much on me. Mr. McMahon, I'm not surprised that you gave the government a pass grade, 8 out of 10, at the end of their first year in government. However, your political bias or your biased political affiliation, that should read, and subjective views turned off many listeners. You need to be more objective and honest. McMahon, when asked to give your perspective on the government's performance, for there is no way the government deserves 8 out of 10. You got to be mad, reads this email. This other email reads, under Harris and Team Unity as a whole, there was absolute freedom of the press, especially on ZIZ with the popular morning program Frank and Candid, and on WinFM one called Voices. People were free without let or hindrance to call in and vent their anger, frustration, dissatisfaction with Team Unity and Harris. Harris was stigmatized with numerous nicknames, but he tolerated and endured these insults because he is a man impervious to criticism. Even up to this day, there's a certain eccentric comedian online referring to Harris and you patches with sordid and unethical names. This dishonest, paranoid and insignificant puppy show fighting to be in things. But the good thing is that he ain't in nothing and could never ever walk in Harris or Patches' shoes. In this world or the world to come. Enough of that, Sparrowhawk, classical joker. My primary concern is the government is gradually moving to shut down these call-in programs to silence the formidable dissenting voices of Culture, Miss Henry and Brother Nabu. WinFM Voices has been robbed to 3 days per week now, and ZIZ Frank and Candid with Albert Bradley obviously has been extinguished. Let's go to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
I'm back. You could hear me?
Yes, you're live.
Okay. I was saying if it is only Timothy and his family, they have to study. But what he has done, they could never do like him. No way. They're patching up the road, making it worse. All the sides want to fix. If they leave it them to go back, they fix Pratt Street and it's a grand prize. Look, all you have done. Nothing else they could do like you. Just promising to the fools. It's Timothy government they're dreaming about all night and wonder how he get that do. It do and will done. Look what they do to his brother, a sick man. But bull, by your sweat you eat bread. Worry don't follow multitude to do evil. A government minister is a pastor supposed to know better. Where is the law? Politics take on the expensive house they buy in America. Your name, who name is on it? 10-1 and still bad. That's house. You used to work in the house. It's the house you used to work in what they buy, or it's another one. Don't be ashamed. Call Timothy to help him. Give you all some ideas. He was moving more in a year than you all. Last Saturday meeting was very informative and people turned out very good and the church service. We are everybody. So good night again, culture, you and Nab, wherever you be. Who can't talk, I will talk for them. But make sure you all hold on to Timothy. He will always be the best. I have a brain, so I can say anything. Mr. Liburd, I hear about COVID. And now it might come back here soon. So the country have to be very bad. It's not over. Good night. Wherever you be, have a good night. Culture and Nabu are doing nobody else. As I can't hear you. Okay then, another time.
Okay, thank you as well. Listen, Wonderland. Every time the Prime Minister has an opportunity to speak at any public event, reads this email in Parliament, press briefing, etc. His recitation is about the former administration whom he claimed did nothing during their tenure to build the economy. He had to come and rescue National Bank and the Development Bank. According to him, he has stabilized these financial institutions, including Social Security. Just imagine the fledgling, immature, inexperienced default leader telling people this stupidness. If he does not have anything meaningful and sensible to report to the country, just shut up, for your lies and false statements are being discounted by all knowledgeable citizens, and not even some of your ardent supporters are buying your crap. Dr. Harris has left the country in a robust, viable financial state for you and your gang to travel the world regularly. Reads this email. This other email reads, when the Prime Minister is assailing the team unity for non-performance in government for 7 years, he is so myopic and short-sighted that in his mind, body and soul, team unity consisted of one man. Reads that excuse me, I'm sorry about that, my straight dog family. Consisted of one man, and that was Timothy Harris, who was Prime Minister and Minister of all the portfolios. I can't believe that Mark Brantley, who claimed to be one of the brightest, or rather the brightest man in the Federation, can remain mute and silent when he hear the nonsensical utterances emanating from the Prime Minister, especially when Mark used to boast that he's the best hard-working Minister of Foreign Affairs, which enabled him to establish diplomatic relationship with countless countries, far and near, a feat that none other has ever done and will ever do. So Mark, not because you are begging and waiting for some crumbs, called fair share from Jew, does not preclude you from denouncing his lies and mischief. How the hell you have him hurling insults at you, giving the impression that you did not perform well while in government? Well, Mark, because you have reduced yourself to a shameless beggar to Jew, with all the mouth you have, you just have to languish in the begging line until Jew is ready to feed you with his leftovers. Jew is just your match. Reads that email. Let's go to the lines. I want to thank this caller for holding caller you live. Hello, caller. Are you there, caller?
Hey, Badges.
Yeah, could you turn your equipment? Yes, please. Yes. Just listen.
Yeah, you're saying cutting out, man.
Beg pardon?
You're cutting out.
I am cutting out, or your system is cutting out?
In and out.
Okay, well. All right, thanks.
I don't want to get it cut out.
Okay.
It's like the internet dropping.
Well, it's not dropping from my end, for sure. So, but thanks for the information nonetheless.
Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, man, brother. Are you there? Okay, that caller is informing that my internet is dropping, but I can see my stream and it's looking good. So, but I'll be guided nonetheless. Thanks for the information. Good evening, Mr. Liburd. Blessing to you and your family. A picture paints 1,000 words, reads this email. I cannot understand for the life of me, with all that has transpired within the last few days, that the Prime Minister could see it fit to have a photo up and boot smiling at the crime scene. The photographer knows no better. These events are serious. People could have lost their lives. It's not a laughing matter when the government's going to get serious. I'm embarrassed. Reads this email. Good night, Mr. Straight Talk. It is very clear that the first year of the Jew administration has been lacking in substantial new initiatives that one could expect from an incoming administration that had promised so much. Much of what they have been touting as successes amount to mere window dressing. If anyone could take the time to analyze their quote-unquote achievements, they would conclude that it's all window dressing. Check it out. Reads this email. It's 9:42, my Straight Talk family, 18 minutes before the 10 o'clock hour. And just to remind in particular our first timers that Straight Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday from 8 until 10 in the PM. And tonight we looked at our thesis for tonight. For those who may have just joined me, we looked at our thesis. Whatsoever a man sows, that shall he reap. And perhaps let me get rid of these other emails before I get to that, my Straight Dog family. The Jew administration's short-sightedness is implementing his get rid of them mantra has effectively robbed the civil service and the overall public sector of valuable institutional knowledge and wise leadership. By replacing seasoned professionals with younger, inexperienced individuals, the Jew administration's ship of state is now floundering like a rudderless ship. Mistake and misstep after mistake and misstep. Check it out. Reads this other email. Good night. Today I attended the funeral service of Dr. Leroy Pacer Henry. He dedicated 30 years to the agricultural livestock sector. In the end, he was unceremoniously sent on long vacation and told to proceed into retirement. This was done at a time when he was the only active vet at the Department of Agriculture and also the appointed Director of Agriculture. The chief architect of this horrible treatment of Pacer was the acting permanent Secretary of Agriculture, a young man who has worked in the Department of Agriculture for all of 4 years. This young man was one of the most disrespectful employees at the Department of Agriculture. Pacer was at one time his immediate supervisor, and he used his new position, in my view, to get revenge. He paid absolutely no dues, but the government saw it best to promote him to the position of permanent secretary. He stomped on Pacer's legacy in months when the man dedicated 30 years of service. Many workers, both at the Department and Ministry of Agriculture, have complained to the Minister of Agriculture about the behavior of this young man, but save face, they have continued to support this young man, reads this email. Good night, Mr. Liburd. I'm still waiting your call regarding my email from last Thursday's show, which I included at the end of this email. My email, however, pertains to the head of the civil service, Miss Thelma Richards. That this is a woman who told me to my face that I'm not eligible for vacation pay because I had forfeited them while I was on leave that was not initiated by my own actions. This lady is not in touch with her human side. She lacks empathy and is not fit for her position. However, I had gotten a fraction of the vacation owing to my via compensation, and I'm still waiting for the difference. Here's my number again, and I have lots of many to say. Yes, I'm sorry I overlooked actually calling that number my Straight Talk family. But I'll try and remember and call that number. Patches, today was the funeral service for Dr. Pacer. It was painful to see how the wickedness of Jews' Labour government caused the death of a great resourceful man, Dr. Pacer. Jew is trying to fool people in thinking that it's only Miguel and Samuel fired Pacer, and he did not know. July in August. What a calamity with our calendar. Jew is not only arrogant, but wicked and heartless. You must never forget how Jew, Samuel, and Miguel treated Pacer. Even Dr. Nisbet spoke passionately about the way they treated Dr. Pacer. Let Jew, Samuel, and Miguel know that today for me and tomorrow for you, our animals are worse off now. Reads this email. Patches, with all the robberies taking place, it's so disappointing that not a word of concern has been published by the Chamber of Commerce. What a shame. Reads this other email. Patches, isn't the anti-corruption legislation that was passed in Parliament the other day supposed to put clause in place to prevent and detect corruption within the public service? So why is God the Fat recommending a whopping 85% salary increases for ministers to prevent corruption? Thirdly, kindly ask Jokey Jew how would we have a sustainable island state when crime is rampant and is the order of the day in St. Kitts and Nevis? Reads this other email. Only Labour politics matter. After 1 year in office, it is clear to see that Jew is a punishment to St. Kitts. He is seen as the worst prime minister in the 40-year history of our nation. He cares nothing about agriculture. We as farmers bawling, but our cries are falling on deaf ears. Samuel could not even attend the funeral for Pacer. Where's the big improvements in agriculture they talked about? Everything gone to the dogs. All the PS is doing is making big money and victimizing us whenever we talk about his crooked ways. The new director is a waste of taxpayers' money. That girl never used to do a drop of work when she was in charge of quarantine. Reads this other email. And this final email, my Straight Talk family. Hi, Mr. Liburd. Smart hospital, smart school, smart houses. The old people say smart people, thief. That it is for July Prime Minister. Now the snake in Nevis, his heart burst when the lady at his convention said they are going to vote NRP. What a thing. Reads that email. And those are my emails to date, my Straight Dog family. I dispense of them. I want to thank you for your understanding. And again, the lines are open. The lines are open, my Straight Dog family. But for those who may have joined me late, just for your information, our thesis tonight is titled, Whatsoever a man soweth, that he shall also reap. And I made the point that there are many biblical scholars within the Straight Talk family. So I was very careful how I broached, or rather how I embarked upon the discussion tonight, which is a very difficult topic. I was cautious because my dissertation deals with what some scholars referred to as the law of retribution, which is prominent in many scriptures we can find in our Bibles. But I also made the point that as I got out of bed this morning and rolled onto my knees as I normally do, it's part of my daily ritual, and I thank God for taking me through the night, and I thanked Him for the present morning light. I then opened my Moravian daily text, which I read every morning. And the passage of scripture, as I flicked the page for today's date, popped before my eyes was Proverbs chapter 31, verse 8. It read, and I quote, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute." Yes, the instruction was to speak up for those who are extremely poor and lacking the means to provide for themselves. Then I went to my Bible and read verse 9 as well, which says, and I quote, "Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor people, or rather defend the rights of the poor and needy." And I believe those were my instructions for tonight's episode. Hence, I titled my thesis, "Whatever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." I'll get back to that. Let's take this call as we wind down tonight's programming. I'll give you a few more minutes after 10 because I started somewhat late, but it's 8 before 10 o'clock. Call you live.
Thank you, Patches. I am back. Joe ain't got no kind of flesh heart. He got a heart made out of iron. So he went in there as a show to see how many people who show him that they're supporting him. But he went in there because he missed Peso. Not he. Not to how he treat Peso. He treat Peso just like how he said that the former Governor General was treated. Those were his words. According to how they treat the former Governor General. That's why he went to the last Governor General to ask him when he decided to leave office. So that's why he went up there, because he ain't love Peso. Now, Dr. Drew is a lie. Drew lie is a lie. That every time he talk, he reversing talking about the Dr. Harris and the Team Unity government has done nothing for the country. That lying man, in spite of all that was done under Team Unity, Patches, you have done 85% of the work coming from Team Unity. Everybody could see it. Look at all road there. Look at the main road. Look at all the other things. Look at the long pier up there where the woman said long thing. And let me tell you something, Joe, if Joe could have shut down the old road there and done it, he would have done it. And if he could have broke down the pier, he would have done it. I'm going to say he's building a new pier and building an old road. Look out. Don't be surprised if you block out Patches road down old road and want people to go back on the old dangerous road under the hill. Because he don't want to continue anything that you are leave Patches. That is his policy. That's his policy, and he know government come, government go. One that comes behind the one that gone. They're supposed to continue the work that the government leave in the pipeline, which is positive and constructive. But he ain't doing that. Well, he said he's going to build smart hospital. but he's still sending out for tenders with some kind of work behind in the existing hospital up there to the back. You know, they got room all the time when you go to talk about shoving off land down the by Johnson Langplat, Smart Hospital. Well, I could tell he this as a doctor. Joe, the hospital, the building is not the hospital. The building is the housing that house the people who do the hospitality work to the patient. The smartness of a hospital is the performance of the employees in the hospital, not the building. So you think you could fool people, but you're going to go build smart hospital? You need to clean up the what is not professionally done in Joseph and France Hospital. That is what you need to do. But you think everybody's stupid like animal? Eh? You need to come better than that and respect yourself. Every time you go in Parliament, you're saying about the farm administration, do this and do that. That is, I was asked on a program, how would I rate the performance of Judem government? From 1 to 10, I say 1. They asked why. And I outlined the lie them what he tell, and turning away innocent people because they're not backing him. And then to surprise me to hear that Mac Mahan going to rate them 8 out of 10, and he criticizing them technically, not direct, but indirect, he criticizing them. But he afraid to say, well then, he afraid people to say, well then, they're big labor man, and you're not going to rate them 10%. I mean, 10 out of 10. And he don't want to come no low, but technically you can see he rate them lower than 8. Well, anyway, Patrick, time is going, and I can't remember anything else right now. Oh, the crime. Now you hear what Jew say that the what they call it with the Colonel Sanders, the peace thing. The peace program. It was unsustainable. That's why he had to scrap it. Well, what he getting now? This year? Could he sustain this? He cannot sustain worse than this. Never mind this. Look at what happened Saturday. Joe, 3 robberies in one day. Joe, you cause all of this here. When you scrap the peace program, you cause all of that there, your behavior. I am not supporting robbery. But because you take away a lot of money from the people them, some of them could get work and they don't want to work. But some of them decide, well, okay, you take me money, or you going to take money this way. Well, I don't support that. So, Joe, give back the people them the money where you take away. You used to lie as a leader, and nobody going to believe you. All you do is supporting wrong things. Look at you Attorney General, he has done wrong, a criminal act. And before you tell him and step down, you're supporting him, boy, you got export. You go ahead, focus on your marijuana and do focus on the safety of the country. People afraid now to stay out late at night at bars and go buy this and that. People who are doing business, they're afraid. All because of this stupidness what's going on. Anyway, Patches, I had enough. Thank you very much until you come back next time.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Watch your back. Thank you.
Thank you,
okay,
my brother. For your intervention, as per usual, always forthright and to the point. This email reads, "Good evening, Mr. Liburd. Did you catch Dr. Jew's unexpected response after a robbery? He turned a serious scene into a toothpaste commercial audition, grinning brighter than satellites and thumbs up like a cannibal barker, all while victims were rattled with that email. At 1 before the 10 o'clock hour, as I was saying a little earlier, my straight up family, especially for those who may have joined me late. The episode tonight titled Whatsoever, beg your pardon, a man soweth, that he shall also reap. And I was making the point, or I made the point, that I read my daily word this morning and I got my instructions from a passage of scripture which was in today's readings. It came from Proverbs chapter 31 verse 8 to be exact, and it instructed me to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Verse 9 read, "Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy." And those, I believe, were my instructions that led to the title of my dissertation tonight. And my research tells me that this lesson was forcefully impressed upon the minds of the Hebrews when the Hebrew writer stated, "For if the word spoken through angels prove steadfast, and every transgression and disobedience received a just recompense of reward, how shall we escape if we neglect so great a salvation?" And this same law is simply declared by Paul in Galatians chapter 6 verse 7. "Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap." But I did not come here tonight to pretend that I am some pastor or some pagan of virtue like some people in authority try to do. Far from that. I have seen enough of this Jew administration, I submit, to conclude that their actions are responsible to a great extent for the reckless, careless, indifferent attitudes that are so prevalent in our federation today. Everybody seems to have come under the influence of what I call the new morality movement that runs counterclockwise to self-restraint, self-control, and self-discipline. My straight dog family. The do as you please, whatever your little heart desires to do attitude is reaping the inevitable results, the unavoidable results of what has been sown very early in its term in office. My straight dog family, from the moment Dr. Joe got into office, he continued his "get rid of them" mantra that was introduced on his campaign trail. He started getting rid of highly competent and qualified civil servants who were deemed supporters of PLP and PAM. And not just civil servants, but public servants as well. As one emailer wrote, he got rid of the institutional knowledge within the service. Imagine, he took an assistant secretary from a scale of 33 or 38, somewhere around that, from the back room of some ministry, and catapulted her to be head of the civil service. Thelma Richards is her name. So Dr. Drew literally jumped her 7 or 8 scales to K47 in line with hardworking, professional and highly trained financial secretary Hillary Hazel. She won't mind. I hope she won't mind I call her name. But she then took, this is Thelma Richards, she not requested, she took the allowance, equivalent allowance that was given or being received by the financial secretary for professional reasons. And that found favor with Dr. Joe. Would you believe it? And there is where she was catapulted to. K47. She has topped the civil service. She's the head. Would you believe that? My straight dog family. Her salary moved in one poof, according to Douglas, from $76,000 per annum, over $40,000 to $117,000 per annum. If you think that was all, my street dog family, with the approval of Dr. Drew, she promoted her lover boy to the position of CEO of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority, my straight dog family. And that, too, was confirmed by Dr. Drew, my straight dog family.
And you'll have areas, designated areas, where you can go and smoke if you wish to smoke. People use the cannabis in different ways. If one of the ways in which you use it is to smoke, then you'll have a designated area. You'll have designated areas. And so we are already looking at designated areas where people can go and do that. The Cannabis Commission is there. It is headed by Dr. Garfield Alexander at this time. And that commission is already looking at all of this. So the commission will meet with the AG, right? And all the law enforcement, all those, the stakeholders, of course, as this legislative agenda is to be developed. So it's very critical between that commission and the legislature, which we think would be fundamental in making sure that that agenda is achieved.
And Dr. Drew always misspeaks, because Dr. Alexander is not the head of the Cannabis Commission. The Act does not prescribe for that. He is the CEO of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority. And his terms of reference are quite clear. It was Mr. Ernest Amby who was chair of the board, unless you changed it since you took office, Dr. Drew. But what it seems to be happening is that, contrary to his terms of reference, and as you intimated, Dr. Drew, Alexander's focus seemed to be on legalizing or the legalization of cannabis and trying to establish designated areas or promoting designated areas for smoking. Is Dr. Alexander and Dr. Drew both on a different frequency, I ask, to the Minister of Agriculture, who believes that we are dragging at a snail's pace in getting involved in the multi-billion-dollar marijuana industry? And according to the minister, when we can literally grow marijuana, or grow money rather, on trees.
Marijuana industry, as we have heard, is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And we have been dragging at a snail's pace in getting involved. And I could not understand for the life of me why. Literally growing money on trees. But yet somehow, we don't want to participate. But I dare say, that era is over, and it's now a new day. in a better way. So in 2023, expect a vibrant, thriving marijuana industry. Literally growing money on trees.
Well, of course, you ought to have or get your CEO of the medical or medicinal cannabis authority on board at first. But with all that's happening in the civil service, I like the comments coming from former Permanent Secretary Sharon Ratton, who adequately summed up her feelings about a month ago on her Facebook page. And this epitomizes what's happening in the government. She was feeling disappointed, according to her, that there are a new set of government employees who are on a path to create a political gang in the civil service. Opportunities to learn and grow are of no value to them. Don't we have enough lessons? When will we learn? Are two questions she posed. Concluded, so disappointed. And that is a typical example of the government that exists under Dr. Jew, my Straight Dog family. The law of sowing and reaping is one of the most basic, easily understood laws. But Dr. Jew has quickly become the father of lies and has taken it and twisted it and deceived thousands of poor people in this country. Do not expect anything different from his deputy, beg your pardon, Jeffrey Handy. We knew what happened when he managed PEP. But meanwhile, he has managed the disruption of the lives of thousands of poor people that once received $500 each month. That meant so much to so many of these poor people in our midst. Could you imagine the stupid explanation about IMF recommendation to streamline the PAP, according to the senator? But people are hurting, my Straight Dog family. Thousands of poor people are excluded from this needed social assistance. You reap what you sow. Is there's a proverb that says future consequences are inevitably shaped by present actions. Just think for a moment like a farmer and say that to reap is to gather a crop and to sow is to plant the seeds. We reap what we sow. It seems so obvious, but in these recent times of violence and armed robberies across St. Kitts and Nevis, this simple truth seems to have escaped most Kittitians and Nevisians. It must be reasonable to ask ourselves, why? Because we have all noticed that the Federation has in so many ways become a more violent society, my Straight Dog family. There's an uptick, dangerous one, in social violence of all sorts in our Federation, including increasing gun crimes, homicides, and armed robberies, my Straight Dog family. These developments come on the heels of a purported crime-fighting method which Jew claims he has upgraded. He has literally destructed the peace program, while Mayor Motley in Barbados has pumped $2.5 million on her peace program in Barbados, my Straight Dog family. In Barbados,
For the
this
first
is
time,
what
you're
happens.
having direct interventions where the Prime Minister would have provided $2.5 million for family-based interventions, whether it be parental programs or life coaching programs for our adolescents that may have gone astray. So a serious effort has been made to change Barbados, starting with the National Peace Program.
That's what's happening in Barbados. But Jew, on the other hand, has partly dismantled the program and promised to launch something called Elevate in July. His deadline has come and gone, but the crime continues to escalate. 19 homicides in the first 7 months of 2023, and a continuing increase in armed robberies. Does Drew really believe that this is the way to build a more secure and a safer St. Kitts and Nevis? Our government has a real problem of excessive secrecy, my straight dog family. But secrecy kills public accountability and cripples the government's system of checks and balances, both essential elements of our constitutional democracy. My straight dog family, I am certain that we have learned. We have learned the hard way. We have come to learn that the Jew Labour administration politicizes everything one can think about, including crime. Hence the reasons for this sudden spike in homicides. The debate over the funding of the peace initiative and the propaganda that came with it only took the country back to those dark days of crime and violence under the last Labour administration. Would this Labour government mean more robberies, more break-ins, more larcenies, more sexual assaults or rapes this year and beyond? Would this Labour government mean greater possession of firearms and ammunition around the Federation? And we will always remember what happened, my straight dog family, on the weekend, on Saturday. This is what transpired, my straight dog family, according to the ZIZ News.
Grocery establishment Rams Supermarket was robbed twice at 2 branches on Saturday night. According to police, Rams Supermarket at Camps was robbed at 6:30 p.m. by, quote, 4 armed and masked assailants wearing hoodies. The assailants robbed 4 of the cashier's stations and the vault of a large sum of money before fleeing the scene in a waiting car. Then at around 7:55 p.m., their Bird Rock location was also robbed by 4 armed and masked assailants dressed in all black. The assailants also stole a large sum of cash from the cashiers and the vault before making their getaway in a waiting car. A few weeks ago, Rams Cash and Carry in Bird Rock was also the target of a robbery that took place on June 21st.
And this comes at the heels, my straight dog family, of his political interference in the police force. Because Drew, as Minister of National Security, manufactured his new Commissioner of Police, who jumped from ranks from confirmed inspector to Commissioner of Police. And this was done in a fleeted elevation to acting superintendent, then bypassing the ranks of assistant commissioner and deputy commissioner. And yes, perhaps the legislation permits political interference because the Police Act states if the Prime Minister signifies his objection to the appointment of any person to hold the office of Chief of Police and Deputy Chief of Police, the Commission, meaning the Police Service Commission, shall not recommend to the Governor General to appoint that person. But now, the Commissioner of Police has recommended a certain inspector who Drew is fully behind, who took care of Drew's security during the campaigns. He has recommended that this inspector of police close to Dr. Drew be hoisted past the rank of superintendent to assistant commissioner of police without attaining, according to the regulations, that required 60% marks from his appraisal and 60% marks during his interview. The magic 60% has eluded this officer who had rapid promotion under the sheriff. Remember him, C.G. Walwyn. But I think it's not about balance, my Straight Talk family. It's about undermining the institutions of state so that they can be more aggressively greedy in grabbing the resources of the state. I said before, Jew Labour promised everything in opposition, but in government, they are delivering nothing, my Straight Dog family. What is Dr. Jew doing to lower the cost of food? What is he doing to lower the cost of gasoline? What is he doing to lower the cost of electricity? Are some pertinent questions to ask. But our nation, in the meanwhile, is in a state of moral decay. Violence, robberies, lying are the results of what has been sown in the minds of the young and innocent, my Straight Dog family. And my Straight Dog family, in closing, I forgot to congratulate my dear brother Cameron Wilkinson. And Cameron Wilkinson, my Straight Dog family, has been appointed to Columbia University as assistant clinical professor of surgery. And I must say kudos to my dear brother and friend Cameron. A king has no honor in his own country. You have served St. Kitts for 25 years in the field of medicine. And even at your stage in your career, I should say, you've had to migrate or go back to New York. But God is a good God, my Straight Dog family. Congratulations, Cameron Wilkinson. What are your reflections for the future is the question I leave with you. Many reflections go back to August the 5th, 2022. And what happened the following day, August the 6th. And I can say we have learned the lesson the hard way, that whatever a man soweth, that he shall also reap. That's my story tonight, my Straight Dog family, and I am not going to change it. My time is done, and I am going to run. But in the process, I must thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. As always, I must thank you, the many listeners, thank the callers, I thank the emailers, and I thank you in advance for sharing this link to your friends, your family, to the world. I must thank all of you and remind you that you are the ones who make straight talk. And for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I am Ian Patches Liburd on God's Spear. I will reconnect with you on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk. Until then, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Be good to all whom you meet. And remember that whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you just got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday.
In the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. Down on my knees to the Lord I kneel and pray, with my heart and soul beg him to take me through each day. My guardian to keep and my guide over every step I take, he will preside. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. My way with strength and courage from above. No man I'll fear, since God protects me with his love. Strong, pure and true, and so sincere, 'cause my knees I'll always stay to the Lord in prayer. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, I gotta reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow.